Did you know you can assign projects to teammates in Slack using high-level automations? Imagine you run a digital marketing agency. You have 10, 20, or 30 employees, and you need a streamlined process in order to get information from your clients to you, to your team. Well, how do you do this? Well, you can use Slack inside of automations in workflows in HighLevel in order to automatically collect requirements from clients and then send those projects to your team members in order to get projects done and then deliver them to your clients. If you're in a business and you have even just one employee, you know managing them can be difficult. So having something like this set up for you can make your life infinitely easier. And let me show you how. Now, before you do anything, make sure you go to settings and then integrations and connect your Slack towards the bottom. This is where you can connect even multiple Slack channels in order to connect workspaces into HighLevel and get messages automatically sent via lead connector within HighLevel. So once you have your Slack connected, then we can build our automation, which is going to happen over in automations and in workflows. Now, we're going to use the Slack action, which we can see by just clicking plus and then searching up Slack. And then the way that this tool works is we can select our account. So here is my demo account for my business. And then we can select our event, which is going to be either send direct message to a user, send private channel message, or send a public channel message. As you know, if you use Slack, you can have public channels, private channels, and then direct messages to users. So those are just the three different options. But let's say for this use case, we're going to be running a simple website design agency. We get information from a client via a contact form, and we need to send that to our web designer. So we're going to do send direct message to a user. Then we can select the user source, which this is essentially how we can dynamically select who the user is. And I'll tell you about some cool use cases with this later, but let's keep it simple for now. And let's just select a Slack user. Then we'll select our specific Slack user, our website designer, and we'll just select myself for all intents and purposes. Now, keep in mind also when you go to this list, you will also be able to see a lead connector user. Now, this user is the internal high-level user that essentially gets added to your Slack. So you can send things like notifications and tracking things to that user itself. So it's kind of going to send a message to itself, but this way you can get messages from HighLevel to populate inside of Slack. If you have a routine where you're actually getting in Slack consistently, you just need to get information out of HighLevel into Slack, you can do that. But for this case, we're going to select Andrew as my website designer, and then we're going to input our message. So we're going to say new website needed, and then we'll include all the custom values from the trigger for this workflow. And then we'll include all the different custom values from the trigger for this workflow. Let's assume that we're going to use something like a form submitted trigger. So we'll include the contact name, we'll include the contact existing website because we're going to collect that from them. And then we'll search up, we'll use our detailed explanation of what the customer needs because we're going to have a form that collects their name, website, and their detailed explanation of what they want from their website. This is a really simple setup. And by doing this, we can get this information to our team in Slack just like that. So to finish off this workflow, we'll add our trigger. We'll do form submitted. Here it is, our website onboarding form. And now whenever somebody fills out our website onboarding form, it'll then send a notification to our website designer in Slack in order to start building this website. Now, this is a really simple automation with just one team member and one input from our leads. So how can we make this a little bit more complicated in order to handle more complex situations? Like what if we run a digital marketing agency that's more than just websites, as we do, and we're getting people in that are asking for automations, emails, different things like that, and you have different team members for different types of actions. For this case, let's say we have a web designer and then an automation builder, right? We're going to add one team member into the mix. So we need to assign this dynamically to the user that needs to build the project for this client. Obviously, if we have someone coming in that is for a automation, they're asking for an automation, we don't want that project to be assigned to our web designer. So how do we fix this? Well, this is what I was talking about earlier with our dynamic selecting of our user source. Right here, we're selecting a Slack user manually, but what if we had it dynamically select the Slack user based on the contact's needs? So we can do something like an assigned user. Now this is where we get really cool. If we have assigned user selected, then what we can do is we can do if, we'll build a simple branch here to just say for our detailed explanation, if it contains the word automation, right? And then we'll also have a branch for detailed explanation if it contains website. So now if our customer submits a request for an automation, it'll go down the left side. And if they submit a request for a website, it'll go down the middle. So how do we build this dynamically with Slack? And I'll show you. We're going to first add an assign to user right here. Imagine that you have your multiple different users here in HighLevel, so your web designer and your automation person. Let's do assign to web designer like this. And then we'll have for this step, we'll do assign to automation builder, just like that. Then we'll actually just move this Slack automation action over to the none side. And then we'll add a go to for each of these steps. which will go to our Slack notification. So with this simple setup, now if a customer comes in from our form and they need a website, it'll assign it to our website builder. So now with this setup, if they go down the left side of the branch, it means they are asking for an automation. If they go down the middle, they're asking for a website. So if our customer asks for an automation, it assigns it to our automation person. Then it automatically goes to our notification in Slack. And then we'll just say new project needed. And then it will immediately go to the assigned user. So this is now going to dynamically send a message to the right person based on the project. So with just this simple setup, you can see how you could build out a more complex workflow in order to assign projects dynamically to the right user based on your customer needs, based on their stage in their pipeline. You can do all sorts of things to run this automation off of. But using a form submission trigger and then the Slack action along with an if-else branch is a really simple, really easy way in order to get this information from your clients to you, to your team automatically without you having to manually assign projects to people. These are just a couple of unique ways that you can use the Slack action inside of HighLevel in order to make your life easier. But it's one of my favorite things because, as you know, running a business with multiple people can be tough. And you don't need to be spending all your time assigning projects to people when you can have HighLevel do it for you automatically. As always, if you like this video and you want to learn more about different features in HighLevel that you didn't know about, feel free to check out the rest of the YouTube channel and HighLevel's blogs. This has been Andrew, and thank you very much for watching.